what I did, but what did I get out of it? What did I accomplish, or what did we find out about it on those 4 flights? The first one, Gemini 7, way back in 1965, was a medical flight, a 2-week mission. And why was it 2 weeks? It was because in looking at going to the moon, and we were working on Apollo at that time, we determined that a 2-week mission would be the longest time of mission to accomplish that objective. So we said to ourselves, can man live in 0 gravity for 2 weeks? I mean, don't we evolve here on Earth? You know, ever since man began, didn't we have the gravity of Earth and some of our functions sort of, you know, requiring Earth's gravity to live? And so we thought we'd give it a try. And as Frank Lover was with me on that particular flight, and we got up into space, into Gemini 7, my first flight. Very, very kind of interesting on that first flight to just really figure out, you know, all the things that were happening. I sort of let the rocket ride me for a little bit. We did 23 various experiments. We had medical devices on for blood pressure and things of this nature, heart rate, and we found out that man could live very comfortably in 0 gravity. And as a matter of fact, there were certain things that we did discover, though, was the fact that the 0 gravity quickly deteriorated the muscles of the legs. If you're not using your legs, and every one of us use our legs every day, and you keep them in good shape. But if you take gravity away, the legs quickly lose their tone, and when I got back on the carrier after 2 weeks, I actually had to force myself to walk the carrier deck because of my leg muscles. We do now, of course, and we did it in the shuttle for many years, we put equipment on board to really strengthen the legs and strengthen the whole body. We found out some other things too. The heart slows down about 10 beats slower than what it does normally. You know, for example, if your heart is beating now around 72, up there it would slowly go down to 62. It takes some time, though, for the body, or the brain, I should say, to realize that. Because when you first get into 0 gravity, you feel like you're leaning over a bar. If you're a young kid at one time, leaning over a bar and the blood rushes to your head, because the heart is still pumping. But it doesn't have to pump against the gravitational pressure to put blood up to your head. So the heart slows down. The amount of blood in your body slowly decreases too, because that amount of blood that you need living on Earth is more than you need in space, only because there's extra blood to prevent blood from flowing down into your legs while you're here on Earth. So these are little things that we found out medically on that Gemini 7 flight. That flight also was the first rendezvous that we did, not docking, but just rendezvousing Gemini 6 with Gemini 7. They were supposed to rendezvous with an unmanned vehicle, but it didn't make it into space. And so, since we were a 2-week mission, they rescheduled Gemini 6 and set it up, and we rendezvoused just in the last couple of days of our flight. The second flight was Gemini 12. It was the last of the Gemini series. And we still have some things to do. The basic thing that we had to affect, because we couldn't do it in the previous flights, was going outside the spacecraft, working outside, because we felt that that would have to be necessary in the future. The Geminis 9, 10, and 11, all the people, the co-pilot of all those three flights, went over the hatch, got outside to do some work. But they found out that, just working back and forth, their heart rate went up. They were exercising more and more, and they're breathing heavily, and they're fogging their face mask. And so what we discovered was that we all forgot Newton's third law of motion. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And when you take Earth's gravity away and you get outside next to a spacecraft and you go over to the spacecraft to start touching it or getting it ready, it repels you. And these people were fighting the zero gravity and fighting the fact that they didn't have the ability to do what they wanted to do. They didn't have the proper handholds and footholds. And so on Gemini 12, we had to do work to see if we could solve that problem. Must have been a brilliant engineer that came up with the idea. But he said, look, why don't we simulate zero gravity underwater? And we thought about that for a while. A spacesuit works just as well underwater as it does in space. And so we got Buzz Aldrin, who was my companion. We rented a boys' pool up in Baltimore, and we got him in a spacesuit, and we had a mock-up of the back of the Gemini 12 spacecraft sunk under the water, and we had electrical communication cord, of course, and hoses and everything for him. And we said, Buzz, now go down there, and we've perfected some of these footholds and handholds, see what you can do. And one thing we don't want you to do is don't swim. You gotta float. And so he did. And this turned out to be the perfect device to train people to go outside the spacecraft and do things with other spacecraft or repair the International Space Station. You've seen that probably all on TV at one time. And Buzz managed to go out 3 times in Gemini 12 in about 5.5 hours. So that was really the